Hey, today we're going to go over how the immune system works to fight off infectious diseases. We're going to go over more about the system's response to something that makes you sick. So the first thing on your online notes, I want you to fill in that the first line of defense is this protective barrier. The second one is the inflammatory response. And then the third one is what we call the immune response. I'm going to go over each of these in detail right quick. So the first one, the first line of defense, what this means is basically the first line that your body has to protect from some kind of pathogen, like a bacteria. So the first thing that we do is our skin actually protects us some. Your skin is a protective barrier or covering that keeps anything bad out of your body, and anything that's supposed to be in your body stays in your body. So it's a good separation point. Inside of your respiratory system, there's this mucus lining. Same thing with your digestive system. With that mucus lining, it helps to sweep away bacteria and trap them in so that they don't actually get to a vital organ inside your body. Inside your stomach, part of this protective barrier is your stomach acid. Your stomach acid breaks down bacteria that get somehow trapped into your stomach, I guess after you eat them, which is actually very common. So if you think about it, when you don't wash your hands, any of that bacteria that's on your food, you do consume it. So the stomach acid will help to get rid of those. So all of that I just went over is your first line of defense, okay? Now, the second line of defense is what we call inflammatory response. This is a general response that happens. Basically, your body is signaling, hey, I'm sick. So your fever starts to rise, or your temperature starts to rise, I should say. You start to get inflammation all over, which is like this redness. And then also your white blood cells are rushing to the area throughout your body to see if there's anything that they need to fight off. Let's say you get a cut, right? And this inflammatory response happens. At the site of your cut, it will start to turn red from the inflammation. You might feel like a little warmness to the touch. That's the fever part. And then also the white blood cells, which normally we see as like pus, it starts to go to that area to start to fight off infection. You can see here in this picture, you can see this is a white blood cell. It's called a phagocyte. What a phagocyte does, it actually consumes bacteria. It eats away at them. And right here in this picture, they're actually consuming bacteria. So that's what it does. Another thing that happens is that your blood vessels widen in this inflammatory response. So more blood flow can go through to that area. That's very key because your blood has your white blood cells. Now, I want you to think about this fever. A lot of people don't realize that a fever is just it is a warning sign to us that we're sick, but also it has like a vital purpose too. Your fever, what it's doing is trying to fight off bacterial infection or viral infections. So, and the reason why that is because some bacteria cannot grow at hotter temperatures. So it actually works to kill. The only problem is that it can damage our body cells too. So if your fever gets too high and, some bacteria might be resistant to that fever, then it can actually start to hurt you and maybe cause problems with you or kill you too. So one of the things that we do, we take things like Tylenol to reduce that fever and to make it go down. All right, so the next thing we're going to look at is the immune system. So we have inflammatory response, that's the second one, and then the third response is this immune system. This immune system response, or immune response I should say, is when there are specific cells in your body that are aimed and targeted at fighting certain things in your body. And this is where your T cells and your B cells are going to start to fight for you. Also, the immune response, we start to build up a memory or immunity to things that we've been sick with before. All right, so this is a picture to show you what happens in our first line of defense. Even your tears help to fight off bacteria. A lot of people don't know that. Your skin is that physical barrier. Your stomach, it has that stomach acid. You have the mucus in your lungs and in your digestive system. And then also we have what's called the flora. That's the bacteria that grows in your digestive system. All right, and then the second response, here's a picture to show you more about what this is. So this is the inflammatory response. This is when those white blood cells rush to an area. You can see them rushing to the area here to fight off the bacteria that is making you sick. So let's say that you get, you step on a rusty nail. We talked about that in the last presentation. You step on a rusty nail and there's some bacteria that grows on that nail. Well, notice here that you just injected yourself with bacteria. Now, there are different chemicals being released by the bacteria that signals, hey, this is something that's foreign, we need to attack it. So those white blood cells, they start to rush to that area and start to gobble up those little bacteria cells, hopefully, in the process, killing all of them so it doesn't continue to make you sick. But the problem is that doesn't always happen. Now with the third line of defense, this is when our immune response actually happens. With the immune response, what happens is that these specific cells are targeting things that make you sick. So, look right here, the first thing, it says cells of the immune system can target and destroy specific pathogens. So let's just say the flu. And then another word you'll hear probably in the future when you get older in like high school science class, a white blood cell is normally called a lymphocyte, and lymph just refers to the lymphatic system, and these are your T cells and your B cells. Now the T cell, which is actually matured in the thymus, which is why it's called T. The B cells are actually matured in the bone marrow, so that's why it's called B. What they do for the T cells is the T cell helps to identify anything that is making you sick. And it identifies those things that make us sick by using something called an antigen. That is a marker protein that is found on the actual bacteria. Then we have the B cells, which produce antibodies. Now, antibodies, we want those. It's like little ammunition for the cells to release to kill anything that's making us sick. So if you look in this picture here, you can see here's a B cell. It's releasing all these little dots here. Those are the antibodies. Those antibodies will kill the bacteria. Okay? So again, it's like the ammunition. It's like the bullets. Okay? And the thing about those antibodies is that they're geared toward very specific pathogens, like the flu. Whenever you get a flu shot, you're building up your antibodies and it's triggering this response. So anytime you encounter the flu, you have these antibodies already in your system. Now, our body has about 10 billion antibodies in our system. And the thing is, when you're a baby, you have less of those. And then, as you mature and get older, you start to get more of them. All right, so the antibodies, they're proteins made by B cells, and they are good because they destroy the sickness, which is the pathogen. You can see in this cell here, even though it's a purple cell, it's actually supposed to be a white blood cell. The white blood cell releases the antibodies. Those antibodies get onto the pathogen, which is the thing that makes you sick. And then what they do is they attack that pathogen and destroy it. So now your body has gotten rid of whatever is making you sick. Now, this other word that you'll see is called antigen. And this, yes, I know it gets very confusing because you got antibodies, you got antigens. We even have something called an antibiotic. The word antigen is a marker protein that's found on the pathogen. So if you look right here, you see how it's almost like a puzzle piece, how those two fit together. This is the antigen, and that's the antibody. If that antibody does not fit into that antigen, it cannot attack the bacteria. This is something that builds up in our system as we get sick. We start to build up this immunity. All right, and here's that picture again up close so you can see that a little bit better. So again, there are certain white blood cells that will gobble up bacteria, but the thing is they kind of randomly go around gobbling up, they're not very specific of what they do. The B cell releases those antibodies, which attach to those bacteria cells, and that's what helps to kill them. All right, so that was our immune response. Make sure you go back over the 3 steps. The first step is the physical barrier. Second step is the inflammatory response. And the third step is the immune response. So all of that happens anytime something foreign comes into your body and tries to make you sick. All right, y'all have a good day.